Hey everyone, it's Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. And we're going to talk about competition in comics. I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do competition. And so we're going to use, who's this? Tanya Harding here to help us illustrate the point. Beyond that, really, I think that there again positive and negative ways to deal with competition, and it really can damage or support the industry and the medium based off of how you handle it. Before we get into this, Fatal is on Indiegogo right now. We're getting really, really close to $45,000, which is fantastic. We are moving. I had some people asking for new tiers and more ways to support the campaign. A newer tier that we added since we launched the campaign is this 11 by 17 print set. So these are large prints. You can hang them up on the wall. People wanted this because there's no original artwork to buy because Charlie does everything digitally. So in this case, you can buy this print set. It is signed and limited, so it has more value to it than a print that we're just going to be printing, forever. So it is limited. It'll come signed by Charlie Snogans, numbered by Charlie Snogans, and you get a certificate of authenticity. You get 5 prints, so you can hang them all up. You can put them in a portfolio, whatever you want to do. But that's something there. And then I'm also looking into adding some t-shirts. Again, these are just other tiers that wouldn't ship with books anyway, so it shouldn't really change, what you're going to be backing. If you backed the book already, you can still get these other, merch items that will ship separately anyway. So check it out. Links in the description below. All right, so back to Tanya Harding here. So, okay, there are 2 ways for people to deal with competition in comics. There's sort of the kneecap approach, that's what I'm going to call it, which is essentially it's tearing down the competition. It's maybe the politician approach where you say how bad they are, or it's specifically trying to ruin their business or sabotage a campaign, sabotage their business so that they don't do well. That's the Tanya Harding approach. The other approach I'm going to call, I don't know, we'll say like the Stan Lee approach, because, famously he would call DC Comics the distinguished competition, and they competed fiercely over dollars, but it wasn't like, the examples I'm thinking of, they weren't ways to trash the other company. They were ways to emulate or one up the other company. And the benefit of that is you had better books. The medium got better because of it. So some of this could be, hey, I'm going to pay a creator that they have an artist, big time artist. I'm going to bring that artist over here. So now we have this great artist. I guess you could argue that would also kneecap the other company, but they have an opportunity to pay more or whatever, attract that talent. So attracting talent. Another one would be, how they would say, oh, DC's doing, these certain number of characters. They're doing anti-heroes. They're doing, any list of things that they're doing. And then Marvel would do the same. And they would sort of imitate each other and make books that were very similar because they could see what was being sold. They could see what was winning. And they would emulate those things even from their competition. That's a smart thing to do. It can seem silly at first, but honestly, down the road, it really is a smart thing to do. Crowdfunding, I've seen a whole lot of this. I've seen a lot of angry people, and this is honestly, like, as I'm looking at comics news, people are still talking about it. Everybody is talking about Keanu Reeves and Boom Studios. Now, what has been going on, though, is many people on Twitter, a lot of people in the comics industry have been saying that Boom should be disqualified from using Kickstarter. They're basically making new rules for publishers. I want to say large publishers, but Boom is not even really a large publisher. None of these companies are that big. If you're talking about Marvel or DC that have backings of major corporations and they actually have a lot of money, that's one thing, but you're still talking about a relatively small publisher. Anyway, but even if Marvel and DC wanted to get on Kickstarter, there's no rules against that. You're making up new rules that basically handicap your competition. So that's the problem. Uh, let's see. Beyond that, so making up new rules for your competition, how what would be the opposite of that? Well, you could look at the campaign and ask yourself, what is Keanu Reeves doing? What is Boom doing that is working? And you could chalk it up to the fact that there's some star power behind the book, and that's solving all problems. But I think that would be a mistake. How many books with celebrities tied to them have done this well? Uh, there are some stinkers out there, not necessarily just in crowdfunding, but all around. There are some duds. And so I think you're better off to look and see what you can emulate, or maybe, get your own minor, get a minor celebrity and get it, like, if that's really the problem, figure it out. I see these anthologies all the time from small creators, small publishers, and they're pulling in some relatively big names to do one, like 2-page story or something for an anthology. Maybe don't do an anthology. They don't sell as well. Maybe do a different book. Uh, Maybe change your page count. Maybe change your pricing. Like there's so much you can do to emulate what others are doing right, as opposed to try and stop them from doing what is right. That hurts the medium across the board. It's not good for comics. Uh, so why does this happen? I think it's maybe a few things. One is that there is just this knee jerk emotional reaction, and there are a lot of artists in comics, and there's a lot of ego, and sort of the natural reaction perhaps is to just say they're being bad or they're hurting my feelings, essentially, and then you got to stop them from achieving greatness. The next explanation is that you could be too lazy to do what the competition is doing, and so therefore you got to kneecap them. If you see them succeeding and they're doing something right, they've made a major step forward, they're making a lot of money, everyone's loving their book. It's you haven't taken the time to analyze what they're doing right, and some of that might be because of all the reading that's going on, that you can't look through what they're doing and objectively uh, ask yourself if you could put it into your own work, or if you could improve what you're doing based off of what you're seeing. No, that can't be the case. What you're doing is perfect. It's art. You're doing it the right way. So therefore, the answer is that the other person is bad, right? And you've got to stop them from doing what they're doing. This happens all too often. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts on kneecapping and competition in comics. Let me know of any other tactics that you have seen in comics. I don't suspect that this will go away anytime soon. I think this is going to be with us for as long as comics are with us. And I guess that's fine, but I think it's helpful to identify those things. And also, if you see somebody that is doing competition right, and you can see them emulating what another campaign is doing correctly, or stepping up their game, improving things, then let me know who they are. I'd like to know who's doing competition right. So thanks very much. Don't forget to check out Fatal. Again, I just put out an update. I'm going to put out another update as soon as I have a t-shirt perk up here. And yeah, I appreciate everyone's support, and I will see you in the next video.